Here we are, first ever Saturday morning podcast. We've got a special edition here. Um, we have myself, Anthony, and second place team on the line, Johann. Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good, good. Glad to
Doing
be on the
good, doing good.
podcast.
Special one here. We've got both first place and second place, but then also, as you know, as we'll talk about, it's a Getzin brother affair at the very top of the league here, at least for this first year. So it's exciting. Did you guys have any initial thoughts as to what the secret is for getting one and two? Obviously, you guys must be sharing some sort of secret brotherly information.
I,
Yeah, I would like to go first. I feel like I should have won the first year of our dynasty league.
You were really
And
close.
I think the winning to that is not so much for the trades, but for the waiver wire and picking in the draft.
notoriously, I think I actually got Johan started into dynasty football or fantasy football, excuse me. And when we started out, I was like, hey, I really wanted to get him involved. And so I was like, here's some of the resources I use. They've helped me. I started out pretty strong. And so now it's kind of a time and point where it's like, man, I'm not sure if I like drafting with Johan so much because a lot of the picks that he's going after, I'm going after as well. And so every time he picks someone, I'm like, ooh, I wanted that player. And a lot of the times there's just some overlap. So yeah, I think he's doing the right things.
But it's not like the resources we are using are available for everyone else in the league to use.
Oh, absolutely. But Johan, we don't share our secret
Uh,
sauce. Don't tell him what we use because clearly it's a winning recipe. Let's keep this secret recipe in the family.
Anthony frequently doesn't share exactly where he hears these things from all the time. He'll link some sort of ranking system or he'll link that and he'll just not say where it's from.
Oh yeah, I clearly edit out the links and everything. Anything that's relative to where that source came from, I'm just giving you the information.
just the basic internet and Twitter, like
Got to keep that edge. Got to keep that edge. Well, what we were going to do here basically is just take a deep dive on your individual team, and I've got the draft pulled up, or I will here in about 2 seconds, and we're
yeah.
just going to kind of go over how your draft went, and we'll talk about additional trades and movement and that kind of stuff right after that. But so I've got it pulled up here. If you remember, you had the sixth pick in the draft, so you had Brandon right in front of you, and then I was actually the seventh pick, so I was actually right behind you there. And first overall pick for you ended up being Lamar Jackson at the 106. Tell us a little bit about, actually, before you even talk about Lamar Jackson, just about your general, maybe like draft prep. Did you have a specific strategy? Did you get certain players that you wanted? Like, just walk us through before the draft, your preparation.
Yeah, so my preparation, I didn't feel like I prepared as much as most people. I kind of just did last minute, like Reddit. Uh, if people go on Reddit and call it like bear sheets, it kind of gives you like the draft overall for fantasy, and then you also have like if you just Google off of like CBS and Fox, they got all the draft like outlines, and you can do your mock drafts, and that I pretty much did that for maybe like 4 days before our actual draft. And then I saved some of the sheets that I preferred. And the whole debate of last year was either going receiver strong or running back strong because there was a ton of receivers coming in projected to do well. So then I was on the fence of either going receiver strong or running back strong. I think this draft I kind of did a mix. So I thought I could have done better on the running back. But what I hated was season before was Lamar came out hot. Same with Patrick Mahomes, and these quarterbacks were like, in my head was like must get quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes must get quarterback, or like whoever he was. He was projected to go first round in any draft, and then Lamar Jackson was right behind him. So for my first pick going mid-round in the first draft, I was like, all right, Patrick Mahomes was gone to Anthony in the third.
Johnny.
So then I was like, the next quarterback was Lamar Jackson. So if I didn't get him, I'm pretty sure you would have got him right after me if he was available, because I saw that Kyle Murray got picked up right after, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now,
that was kind of my thought process, is that it was like the top three quarterbacks were going the first round, which in normal fantasy is usually just running backs, you know?
Right.
yeah,
Because of the super flex, the QBs are weighted a little bit differently. And I'm actually surprised you got Lamar Jackson, at the 7th pick, but that's a good pick, or 6th pick.
I was going to mention as
Yeah,
well. Did the
especially
sorry,
when we did
Johan,
the
did
two
the
QB.
different settings kind of influence your choice? Because again, we're in the super flex league, so two quarterbacks are possible, as well as of course the most important setting of all, we're a dynasty league where you're keeping your team season to season to season. How did that influence your choices, if at all, in terms of selecting your players?
Yeah, that was a huge role, because I did, I think, 2 other leagues besides this dynasty, and one of the options was not having a 2 QB league. So QBs weren't as important, you know. So everyone was drafting running backs in the beginning. I ended up getting like middle place, you know, so it doesn't really matter. But I realized that this one, since we're doing a dynasty and it's a 2 QB league, that quarterbacks are going to be hard to come around for your second option, especially if your second option gets hurt or your first option gets hurt. Who's going to be your backup, you know? So I realized that getting quarterbacks, having this kind of setting, did change my priorities about getting good quarterbacks, because they do get a lot of points in their priorities.
Definitely, and that super flex option, it's really hard to. I mean, of course, you could go with someone other than a second quarterback in the super flex, but it's fairly easy and consistent for a quarterback, even if they have a so-so game, to get 15 points at least or something.
Yeah.
Whereas for a running back or something, like that's kind of like, okay, good, I got 15 points, I feel great. They didn't do amazing, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. Where a quarterback, they're just like, that's just so-so. So yeah, it is pretty, I would say, usually important to have a second quarterback in that. So you went Lamar Jackson first. I'd love to hear your thought around that. I know we've talked a little bit about the quarterbacks, but I know personally,
Oh, here it comes.
I thought for a long time about whether or not it was correct to go with one of those quarterbacks early. I kind of figured Mahomes would be going super early, but I'm like, gosh, I've got the 107. I think probably Lamar Jackson or maybe Kyler Murray would get to me at 107. I'm not 100% sure. Ended up getting Kyler, but I thought about that for a really, really long time. Was there anyone that you kind of thought might be there at 6 or was there at 6 that you passed on for Lamar Jackson?
Well, that would have been there at 6 if I passed on Lamar.
Like for example, like I see Kamara went at number 11. I think a lot of people usually think he's like a top 5 pick or somewhere in that area, as well as Michael Thomas. He had a terrible season last season, but heading into that season, he had like a record-breaking wide receiver season. Was there anyone else that you were kind of thinking of before the draft started as like, this is my target right here at 106?
Yeah, I was actually running at running back, so I wanted Dalvin Cook, honestly, and it's a hard decision between Dalvin Cook and Lamar, because I knew those, like the running back, they get hurt a lot, but they do put up a lot of points, you know. So then running backs is like kind of the key to get. So that's why I was surprised that Brandon went with George Kittle so early, because a tight end at 5, I don't know. I don't think I would pick up a tight end at 5. It's just that seems too early for. I know he's like the number one, but that still seems too early for me for a tight end in the first round. But for me, as far as the first round, I think my debate was either I wanted Mahomes or Lamar, and I think my third go at that spot was going to be a running back. And I think at that time when I was picking, I was looking at Dalvin Cook or Lamar, and I decided to go with Lamar. Which I hope he pans out, because I feel like in the Dynasty League, he's young and he's still got a lot to prove to himself. And I felt since his last year, he didn't go as good as the year before, that he's going to try to make a good comeback. So I'm still banking on Lamar to do well within the next 2 years. Because that is one thing about the Dynasty League is who can last 3 full years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially as your first round, who can last 3 full years? And I think that's what put Lamar in front of my running back is like, I want a running back that can last me 3 years. And that's someone who's young, someone like, you know, like you see running back or quarterbacks who are leaving the league now, you know, like retiring or getting out. And like people who have potential issues like the Seahawks with Russell Wilson, like, is he going to perform as well as he used to be? But I know Lamar, I think for these 3 years, are going to perform well for me.
He's probably safe, I would say, for and a lot of the younger quarterbacks, unless they get hurt
Yeah.
or unless they, just spiral out of control or whatever. There's a decent chance that a quarterback can probably play 10, if not maybe, 12, 15 years or something. I mean, I know obviously Brady is the outlier. He's played over 20 seasons now, which is ridiculous. But to have a quarter, I'm trying to think of some of the longer veterans. You've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees. I mean, if you drafted one of those in a dynasty league early on, you're probably pretty set and you don't need to worry about that position more or less for at least a decade, which is pretty valuable.
Yes.
Jan, did you take age into consideration? Because it looks like later on in your draft, you're getting some of the guys that are, I mean, in terms of football, they're a little bit older, right? You had like AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton. So you had a couple guys that are kind of, and then it was unfortunate. I mean, this is an age, but Darius Guice, who was out, and then Damian Williams, who opted out. That was unfortunate for you. But were you looking at that? Was that a part of your assessment going into this?
For age?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just because I knew it was our first year of Dynasty, and I kind of did want to. I mean, like you have to project like 3 years is in no time for football, NFL like stars, you know.
Right.
But it still is a factor. Like you're getting older, they're seeing less time, their body's not working as it used to be. Versus a guy who's fresh, learning, and has the potential of like Derrick Henry. Like how old is he? Like 20, 27, 27. He's still young, for
Yeah, he's 27. Yeah, you're right.
higher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like there's so he
Oh, I'm losing you on a little bit here.
Oh no.
still has
Man on the move.
That Georgia reception.
That's kind of, their prime is over. So yeah, so I believe age is a factor.
Okay.
I mean, later on, I do want to get into it because I'm curious about your strategy going into this year. You have a lot of moving pieces and a lot of players that were affected. But for the draft, I think that's all I have. Anything you got, Tyler?
Yeah, the only other question I would have for Johann as it relates to the draft would be, can you remember specifically any players that may have gotten sniped for you, a pick or two right before you were able to receive them? And was there any player that you were really excited about getting? Maybe they went a little bit later than you thought, and you're like, I never thought this person would drop to me. Any positives or negatives that you can remember from the draft?
Yeah, I remember. Man, Brandon, the first, I think it was round 3. He got DK Metcalf. I knew that guy was a beast. Like, you see DK Metcalf, his photos, all the the memes and everything, but you could tell that he was a beast. And he got him in the 3rd round, and that was my next pick. And it was this, I hate, like, Anthony was talking about this earlier about me choosing his whatever. Like, he was about to choose next. And that was literally my next pick was DK Metcalf. And I had it lined up. I had it in the queue. And once I saw him that he had it and picked it as this, I hated that pick because I knew DK Metcalf, even though, we're big Seattle fans, but you could tell that that guy had something special going on for him. And then as far as the other one, I'm surprised I got Mark Andrews in the 4th round. I thought he was a number 2 tight end. One, I guess Kelsey. So I thought he was a number 3. So I'm pretty surprised I got Mark Andrews in the 4th round. Going from that, like I thought he was gonna be picked up way before, and I knew if I didn't pick him up that round, someone else would in the 4th round, especially being the mid pick in the draft. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we're going to take a look at some of the other transactions that you did during the season, which would include any kind of like free agent moves, trades, that kind of thing. And so I am bringing that up right now here, and we can
Let's
just kind
do
of
it.
run
Because
through
I'm a
those.
big believer on the waiver trade, and when it comes to trades, I don't know. I feel like it's got to be fair.
So we'll
You know,
jump
You're
in.
not you're not a big trader, Jan. You've only even traded Sam a couple like not even important trades. They're just like, players that
Yeah.
don't even matter.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be based off trades, and I hate when some of these trades go on through the league. That makes no sense to me, but it is
So
what it is. It's part of fantasy. I understand. It's
So
part
super
about
small
being an owner.
trades, yeah, yep. So you did one trade in October with Sam, which was a minor one. Cameron Brate for Darnell Mooney. Do you remember that one at all? Any thoughts on why you did that? It looks like you picked up Brate, so you grabbed an extra tight end and traded away Mooney.
I think that was a time when I needed a tight end. Mark Andrews either got hurt or wasn't doing well.
Mm.
So I do remember a time where it's like I might need a tight end. I didn't really have a backup, and I
Georgia
but I picked
connection,
him up
baby.
because his trades make sense, and we're kind of like I just accepted a trade that I guess has been pending for a while, but I just saw it. That actually makes sense to me, where it's like we're kind of getting what benefits to both of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The next
But
trade that you. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're good.
I was going to say the next trade that you did, with the second trade, was you acquired Philip Lindsay and a second round pick from Johnny for Nick Foles. So you had traded away. It looks like a little bit of QB depth there. Walk us through that one. My initial thoughts is that looks like a steal because now Foles.
Agreed.
Yes,
How do
Foles
you
is a QB and
when
they're
it,
hard to come by, but I think we're starting to realize and understand the value of even second round picks right now. I think those
yeah.
obviously have relevance. And then, Philip Lindsay, he's getting a little bit older now, but he does have promise as a running back. Like, walk us through that. How did you swindle Johnny so hard?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I offered that. I'm pretty sure I didn't offer that because I don't really do much in the trading. But when I saw that, I'm like, yes, because Nick Foles is old. He's gunning out. Like he's on the other half in his second round pick. Like, man, you seeing the draft this year is going to be so interesting with like what 3 or 4 QBs going in the first round.
Yeah.
And when I got rid of Nick Foles, he was just it was like my bench. It's like you could pick him up off the waiver wire if I dropped him next week. It was Nick Foles wasn't producing any fantasy points to be even your second QB. So when I saw Phil Lindsay as a running back, I was like, yes, a running back you always need. Running backs, even if it's number 2, even some maybe number 3 running backs, but you usually want number 2s and number 1s and running backs, no matter what. If someone gets hurt, guess who's up? The number 2 running back. So I don't know how.
I think this must
how
be
that
some sort of Getzin brother, or there's something in the genomes that somehow just like break down the brain cells for Johnny, where somehow he just has to, anytime he interacts with you, he just falls apart. So very
I don't even
interesting.
know. I
Johnny's
don't even know
made some
how that happened
fantastic
though.
trades.
Like, no, I feel like Anthony's totally different. I feel like Anthony pushes trades on other people. While for me is I don't really push trades, but I'll accept trades if it's a big benefit for me, then yes, I'll accept it. But it's not like I'm gonna go out looking for targets and be like, yo, Johnny, make me a
Yo,
trade.
Johan. All right. Now that we're going down this lane, I'm curious though. Okay, so we added the taxi squad, so that's 4 additional roster spots. We added the depth of the roster, that's 2 additional. You're not okay. You did some fantastic waiver wire pickups, by the way. I think you did one of the best. We'll get back to that in a second. But the waiver wire is going to be obsolete pretty much. Like the only way you're going to acquire talent is through trades. And I know you just had mentioned that you don't trade a whole lot, but how do you see what's your strategy going forward? Do you think you're going to be able to adjust or change that? Because again, there's not going to be anything on the waiver wire.
My strategy is looking towards the future, not for next week's waiver wire, but for down the line of 2 to 3 weeks, and projecting about who's looking kind of iffy, who's looking kind of getting hurt. And I feel like most people play by, all right, what's happening next week? But I'm trying to be like a Bill Belichick over here who's planning for the whole year and to get the win at the very end, which I should have got.
Right. But you're going to be picking up scraps. So they're going to be 4th,
No,
if not, or they're
no.
going to be on
You think
long.
no? You You think Bill Belichick's picking up scraps when he picks up Tom Brady and how far down the draft? No. I'm going to be picking up guys you don't even see coming. You don't even see coming. I want to be picking them up, and they're going to be scoring me points.
I mean, it's a huge change in the year. You're going to come to see that the waiver wire is just not as appealing.
Oh, I know. And I'm going to pick up those waiver wires that are going to be golden eggs.
I think that's going to make them that much more valuable. There's bound to be one or two, decent free agents, like we said, that you've never heard of before. Someone that just comes completely out of nowhere. And for that manager who's able to get that diamond in the rough, that's going to be a huge boost on their roster because you don't just find a starter or you don't just find, a decent bench contributor. Because like you said, the rosters are so deep. We've got the taxi squads. We've got, I don't know how many bench spots, but it is a significant number. So if and when you actually do find them, whether or not you're able to play them or trade them off for additional value, that's going to be huge. And so that's definitely one of Johann's strengths here. Looking at your free agent pickups, was there one that stood out to you, Anthony? I know it's a deep league and everything, but they just
not so much the free agent, but the waivers. So Johann bid on Logan Thomas for $0.
That was fantastic.
Huge. That was amazing. Darnell Mooney, he traded away. He got value for that. Mike Boone, he just traded away to Sam and got Mecole Hardman. I think that was a huge win. Anthony Fersker is, Jonnu Smith moved on, so he's potential tight end 1. He could provide some value. Donovan Peoples-Jones came on strong for Cleveland last year. So Johann, you did your research. You found some good value. Was there anyone on the waiver wires? I guess we don't have it up right now, but I was just curious if there's anyone that you missed out on or that you tried to bid on.
Really quick, I'm highlighting Donovan Peoples-Jones because I remember bidding on him and didn't receive him, and I see that you picked him up for $35. So I was definitely a little bit too rich for my blood. Good on you there, but I remember trying to go after him as well.
Yeah, I guess for the waiver wires, just listening to the podcast and researching. And it's I spent about 2 days after Sunday just doing research about who's picking up. And I know towards the end, I was looking at receivers because I forgot that receiver's name from the Steelers, but I knew he was a rookie and that he was doing well. So I was I knew I had to pick him up. And at the end, I was I had no more. I wasn't going to bet any more money, so I was I might as well just spend it all.
Bet it all.
As far as the waiver wire, I don't know what they project that week.
I think we lost you a little bit, y'all.
He's on the move. Okay. Well, we'll jump into the season a little bit. So definitely, I would say Gold Star. You're definitely in the top, top 3 in terms of free agent waiver wire performance, if not top 1 there, especially from what we've looked at. So in the season, of course, we're going to say, as we've talked about before, you did finish the season 2nd overall, so you had made it to the championship, and you played an absolute crazy match with Anthony, where you guys just had incredibly high scores for the last 2 weeks of the finals. But let's talk about how you got there. So you entered the season the playoffs. It looks like you were correct me if I'm wrong, were you the number 3 seed? Is that right?
I think it's 4. Yeah, it's 4
or 5. Yeah, okay.
I can't.
So it looks like maybe you were the number 4 seed, and your first round matchup was against Chris, and you advanced past then, and then you went up against the number 1 team in the league at the time, which was Aaron, and you pretty handily beat him 180 to 129. Do you remember anything about your first 2 playoff matches before you get into the finals?
Is there a way to bring that up?
Yes, there is.
I would have to look at it. The scores?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right
here.
Yeah,
so for the first week, you were 167 versus Chris at 130. And it was week 13. So let's see. You had Lamar Jackson get 25, Chris Carson 20, Marvin Jones 25. You struck out on AJ Green with 0, Robert Woods 18, and then he kind of had a handful of players. Aaron Jones getting 23, Ayuk 20, Ruggs actually got 20. So that was pretty much then Jared Goff getting 24 points. Then you had Tannehill, 28 points, your boy Tannehill.
Oh man,
Top
tell me
10
about
QB.
Tannehill. He's been my keeper. Like for the past 2 years, he's like a sleeper that everyone
Oh, I love
passes up on.
Tannehill. I love him.
Yeah, like I don't
I,
know how people like that
I've
was
slept on him.
one
I'll admit
in
it.
my draft. Like I need to get Tannehill. Like he is projected to do good. Even Josh Allen, man, he is a star. But I think when it comes to the playoffs, like I was just playing who was projected to get the most, and I think that's one of my hardest decisions is like deciding because the projections never tell the truth. But are you going to take the risk on playing someone who you think's going to do better? Going in that matchup. But as far as the playoffs, I think I was just playing who was projected to get the most and running with the team I had at that time.
You benched Adam Thielen, uh, which is interesting because I would think he would normally be in the top three of most people's of most people's lineups there. For AJ Green, who got 0, Robert Woods did pretty well. Do you remember any of your thought process on Thielen there? Because I would have expected to see him in a starting lineup.
I think
Right.
well, usually when I choose those is like who they're playing against. So it's like I think at that time, what's his name was hurt, Burrows. So I think they had their second QB in. So I don't know why I would play him over
Or you think
Thielen.
Kirk Cousins?
Cousins. Was Cousins hurt?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
You also played Ferkser instead of Logan Thomas, who got 29 points, but I know he was just coming on, so that's a hard one to judge.
He
but
still
I,
got
I
still
pretty
got
much
12 out of
yeah
Ferkster.
the
Hmm.
way I choose is like who they're playing, and I look at the weather to see what weather they're playing in. Like if it's rain heavy, obviously they're going to be running more. So it's like why would I put? So if Thielen was playing in a game where the weather was going to be rain heavy, I probably would have benched him. So I think weather does huge parts in fantasy points based on the run game and passing game. And then if Burrow or if the Bengals at that time were playing in a nice weather, then I kind of base that off of. But that's usually who I choose. Is like I look
Dang,
at who
Johan,
they're
going
playing.
deep, using weather as part of your strategy. Woo.
Do you
Yeah,
overvalue
I
players
feel like
that
that's
play
a
in
must
domes?
in
If
most
if I
fantasy.
try
Like
to if I try to hoard all the dome players and then trade them to you, are you gonna look on that favorably?
yes, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
Yes,
I'm getting all
absolutely.
the Saints I can.
All the dome
Because
players.
yeah,
Hmm.
you see it in the stats, like you and like just listening, like that these wide receivers are gonna be hit more in dome weather or whatnot. Like as like if you look at any rain game and the stats between run game and passing, it's beyond like the difference is huge.
I will
I actually
say
heard an
those.
interesting fact that that wind was one of the biggest factors over rain, which I thought was always interesting. That
Yeah,
rain's not too bad, but yeah, there's those weather factors too, and like snow,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Derrick Henry like got trashed when he went to what is it, Green Bay, playing in the snow.
Probably. That's why,
I
like,
think
that's
so.
one thing I always look at the weather. Like, I don't look at the weather unless if it's like if I'm on the edge between picking Thielen and AJ Green. Like if I'm on the edge and I'm like, all right, what's the weather like? And then that's what's going to decide who gets put in for my roster. But if it's like an obvious, like I don't know why I would pay AJ Green then. Like he wasn't really projecting much.
Okay.
But
You
maybe
just you're gonna win so hard you didn't even matter. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
right? Like yeah, I just don't, man.
Aaron and Kristen.
No, I usually my thought process goes a little bit on that game, and then I try to use like the Google generators, but I don't know, those don't really help me.
So moving on to the second week of the playoffs, where you were up against the number one regular season team, which was Aaron. You really had a fantastic week. So you scored 180. Actually, you were the second highest for those playoffs. Anthony scored 185. So I mean, both of you guys just basically hit the stride at the exact right time. You put together your strongest performances in the playoffs, which is what got you to the finals. But in terms of specifically matching up with Aaron, you really blew him out. You beat him 180 to 129. And Lamar Jackson scored 35 points. Chris Carson almost 19. Derrick Henry that huge week, 36 points. Then Marvin Jones. Who is this? Yeah, Marvin Jones. Thielen. You got Thielen back in there. Mark Andrews, your tight end, did well. T.Y. Hilton again in the playoffs did really well. Usually an afterthought there. Um,
Yeah, I did.
Great second week there. Any thoughts on what you were thinking heading into again, a matchup against the number one seed there.
Um, is there a way? I'm trying to bring it up on mine.
Yeah, if you just take a look, if you view Tyler's screen, it should be able to bring it up for you.
I'm on my phone though.
Yeah, if you go into the Discord app, I'm actually
Discord.
sharing my screen, so you should be able to see it.
Oh man, and you said AJ Green. I mean, he got 0 the week before, but then he got 18, so that wasn't too bad.
Oh, I see that, but I think what was my team? Oh, they didn't do bad.
He started Thielen that week, and then AJ Green scored more. But I mean, you need him.
I think I was on an AJ Green trend,
Right. Just had high hopes for him. I mean, they hyped him up the entire time. I remember they're like, "Don't sleep on AJ Green. Don't sleep. He's coming back."
I think that game I literally just went with all my starters because wait, can you scroll down? Who do I have on the bench? Tannehill, my man, Tannehill. Yeah, I think I literally went with all my starters and they just all did well.
I'm noticing as well that you had Galladay pretty much hurt almost all season, so you managed to basically get second place, not only make the playoffs, but then get second place in the playoffs without Kenny Galladay that entire time. Are you pretty optimistic about adding him mostly to your roster moving forward, and hopefully that'll improve things?
Cone of silence.
Loves
All right,
Kenny Galladay.
I don't know what happened.
We were talking about Kenny Galladay,
Yeah, Galladay.
and how he was hurt for forever, and basically you should be able to add a healthy Kenny Galladay. Now he's on the Giants to your team moving forward. Are you pretty excited about that?
Yeah, I think that's one thing about the keeper. Like, even if people get hurt, like, you have to play kind of for the next 2 years. So I like Galladay going to the Giants, whatnot. Like, I just knew he was an overall good wide receiver to keep on the bench. But then it's like those decisions you gotta make. Like, can you see them coming back? Like Saquon Barkley, like hurt for the whole season, but you can't drop him. Like you got 2 more years of this league. Maybe if you got hurt halfway into this league, then like, all right, maybe I'll make a trade for something. But he's just one of those guys that you just got to keep for the whole time because he'll produce for you later. Or he's even a better backup than most backups on your bench.
So I really want to spend some time on this one because obviously this is the most important matchup. This is the championship final, so it's a 2-week final, not just 1 week. And as we said, you guys both put up super high scores in both weeks there. So at the end of week 1, it looks like Anthony has the very, very slight edge, and it's ridiculous that he's got an edge, but 202 points over your 199 right here. So you put together, I would imagine 199 was probably like the third or fourth highest score of our season. In the finals, absolutely the perfect time to have it. And then you get outscored by 3 points anyway in that first week. Luckily, you've got a week left to go. But tell me what you were thinking about at the end of the first week after scoring 199 points against Anthony. What were you thinking there?
Man, I was thrilled. I was texting him saying like, yo, I got this and stuff like that. Like this is kind of new doing that 2-week kind of the finals. But like I remember that first time that I was like, yo, I'm about to win. You might as well just give up now,
Yeah, because your games were earlier in the day, I remember.
Yeah, and I remember like letting him know, like, man, I felt so good. And then I don't know who played for him that second game. I don't know if was it David Johnson or something?
Tony Pollard, who I put in. Ended up getting me 31 points.
Ridiculous.
Who just came out fucking crazy. And I was so mad about like how much I got overscored just that second week. And like, I don't know. That I kind of, not about the league info, if it's like fantasy, whatever, but I kind of just like the first 1 week kind of. You never see a 2-week like Super Bowl, or a 2-week finals.
So yeah, that's a good. That is
like
an interesting point. I think the reason why we do that, and we do that in a handful of leagues. I can't remember, Anthony. Do we do that in the Boss League as well? Not 100% sure.
We do.
I think it's really basically about making sure that the best team wins, right? That's the main goal. Is that you would think that given a 2-week sample size, there's a higher probability that it's not just going to be some sort of fluke. And so we really kind of want to honor the championship round, especially with giving the best team the chance to win. And the interesting thing too, Anthony had an absolute monster first week of this finals as well. You probably would have won, I would say 95 times out of 100 most of the time. But that's why we have the 2-week thing. So crazy.
But I also
Yep.
remember going into the next week, I was telling Johan, I was like, well, all right, I'm gonna give you a parlay. Let's just call it. We'll split the pot, and as long as my name goes on that trophy, we'll call it good. You just
No,
give
I
up
would
right now.
never take that. I would never. It's not about the money. It's about the pride. It's about the shit talking. I don't care about the money. And
Absolutely.
that's why I was like, it should be 1 week because it don't matter who plays. It's like because there's so many variables that comes in a 2-week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, finals. Like there's playing so many different teams. Like they're playing a whole different team. They're playing different weather. Like your people are just different. It's like I don't know.
Okay.
That's
I
the
like
competition in the Getzin blood.
1 week takes it all, and whoever can make it to the final week has proven that they've been a good manager,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all you need for proof. And then that final week was like, winner takes it all.
So yeah, into that second week of the finals there, this is where the difference was made. Anthony scored 160 in the final week, and you had a little bit of a down week for sure, 121 in that final week. It looks like you had some underperformers. Derrick Henry for the first time in forever.
40 points.
You're right. Derrick Henry for the first time in forever didn't score double figures against Green Bay. I think that was that snow game that you were talking about. Marvin Jones was in your starting lineup, only scored 5 points. T.Y. Hilton came back to earth. I would still say 9 points is pretty solid for him. Robert Woods and your kicker got 0 points. Meanwhile, Anthony, I would say had a above average week. David Johnson was just hot in the playoffs for whatever reason.
Who would have thought David Johnson comes high on the final? Like that's an old ass man right there. Like,
oh, he's an amazing player. He's only 29. He's younger than me.
He's at the end of his career. Like he did shit the year before. I remember having him the year before, and he didn't produce 0 points for me. Like.
He was on Arizona. They didn't know how to play him, but he is an amazing player. He is elite.
He hot on the last week of fantasy. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Anthony's
he's gonna be an RB1 this year. He's gonna be so good. He is fantastic. Let me tell you, this David Johnson guy.
RB1 with what quarterback?
Exactly. He doesn't even need a QB. That's how awesome he is.
Anthony, the used car salesman, trying to hype someone up to trade for David Johnson right now.
He's gonna end up trading David Johnson for like another one draft pick of next year or something.
So Anthony, I love this. He hit you with the double D Johnsons in the finals. David Johnson and Deontay Johnson, both of them scored over 20. Allen Robinson had a good game. Ridley had a good game. Waller strong as always. Tyreek Hill a little bit down, but
he's gonna use these stats to make a good trade for next year or for this year, I guess, coming up.
Absolutely.
He's like, think about him in the playoffs of last year. He's going to get you that W, and then he's going to come up with something crazy.
The one thing that I will say, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 people, and I think we all know who those, especially the one person is, I do think that most of the people in the league have a pretty decent have their feet on the ground, and they've got a pretty decent hold on what's going on here. So
you guys are talking so much shit about David Johnson. Pull up his line. He only scored 2 games single digits. Only 2 games were single digit numbers. You can't tell me that you wouldn't get a running back that's going to get you double digits nearly 90% of your games.
No,
if I told you that, if I told you an RB's going to get you double digits every single game except for 2, you can't tell me you would not draft him.
I would not draft him.
You cannot. That is a lie. That is a bold-faced lie.
I think
Frank Gordon get double digits. Frank Gordon get double digits.
Here's the thing. Oh,
I'm not going to risk it for him to score double digits at any game next year as an RB1.
Well, in terms of what you would have to give up, I think if you were running back desperate, he's probably we've still got the NFL draft. We'll see what the Texans do. But pending something there, you figure he's probably going to get a lot of carries. But he is 29 years old. He probably only has, I'm even thinking about Frank Gore. Like Frank Gore has been in the league for a long time, but he's not necessarily performing.
Running back.
Absolutely.
How old is Frank Gore?
Frank Gore is like 39 or something like that.
I don't even know how he's still in the league.
I'll
All
open
right,
them up.
Frank Gore is 37 years old, so that
That's
means
insane for a running
David
back.
Johnson
That's
has at
insane.
least like 8 more years in him. He's
No,
good. He's
no,
good.
no. Please look up the average life or career time for a running back. They
Mhm.
get hit so many times.
Yeah, but he's elite.
No, he's not. He just got you a win off of a luck game. I literally should have won last year.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
so strong. I literally should have won last year.
Okay.
It should have been a 1 week Super Bowl or whatever, and I should have won.
You just got to try harder. That's all.
No,
You-
you got lucky.
You
got
would
lucky.
have lost in the 1 week anyway by 3 points, but just saying.
That first week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony's
What?
outscored you by 3 points. It was like 202 to 199.
You were so confident. I remember you posted a text saying, "Oh man, someone should get something for winning the most points the entire season because you
Yeah.
had like 199." And I
Super
passed you by
confident.
202, and I was like, "Yo, give me that. Whatever that is, give me that reward."
Damn, I didn't know I lost the first week. I thought I won that first week.
Yeah, that was my best performance. Actually, the best performance in the league for the entire season was that 202.
Dude, I should have won. Not based on that, but based on your sketchy trades and shit like that.
Oh, nothing
My
but
team-
sketchy trades.
My team was pure, just straight waiver wire drafting. That's it.
So what you're saying is your team is boring.
All right. So looking forward now, again, you got second. So that for the rookie draft, you have the 11th pick in the first round, and then moving down from there. You did actually, from one of those trades that we talked about earlier with Johnny, you have Johnny's second round pick, so you've got the 202 as well. Have you had a chance to do any draft research and any thoughts on, especially even all of the trades and transactions that we have going on in the league? Like, what are you thinking about our rookie draft moving forward?
It's gonna be new. Honestly, I haven't looked much into it because once football's done, then that's about it.
Mhm.
Until the draft comes, and then I'll probably watch the draft, see who's picked up. Because I think the draft plays a major role on every team.
Mhm.
You know, because you see, just on Thursday night, that's pretty much the only important night. But you'll see who picks up a quarterback and who does this, and that changes the look about a team, as far as their running game, their throwing game, and looking at the college. But for me being so far back in the draft pick, I'm probably just going to pick up running backs, honestly. Like running back, and then the next one's going to be running back. And but it really depends on the draft coming up. Because I know I will watch the draft because that's huge in any fantasy. And it's just interesting to me about how the teams are going to change and who's going to be the new QB or stuff like that. Because even if you're thinking about picking up, let's say, Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence for the first 3 in our rookie draft, are they going to – I don't know who our first 3 is, but it's like, are they going to need a quarterback?
Oh yeah,
And
they're
since-
getting a QB.
Okay.
It's Tyler, then Brandon, then Jeremy, and yeah, they're
Yeah,
all
so like, why wouldn't they pick up the first 3? But then if you really look into that, are you going to try to like, I haven't looked into it, but like, am I going to try to pick up a quarterback who might be like a Russell Wilson or a Tom Brady who gets drafted later, but that no one really sees? Does that person have the potential? Like, I'll have to see once I start doing the mock drafts and stuff, I'll have to see what quarterback might be available for me. And if I think if he's a baseball player, I want to pick him up. If you literally look about any of these baseball player, football players, they are all-stars. Kyle Murray, Russell Wilson. If you think like if they have a baseball background and they could have been paid for baseball, you might as well pick them up as a quarterback because they're going to be phenomenal.
John, I got a question for you. So we were talking about age before. We were talking about draft. Your team's actually probably one of the older teams, to be honest, and it's aging. So I feel like you're in a win now mode. How much longer do you think your team will hold up before you're going to have to start trading it away and acquire more draft picks? Because I feel like in a dynasty league, you should be of two mindsets. You should be either I'm going to win now and go all out, or I'm going to rebuild and get a whole bunch of young recruits, and I'm going to play for the future and win later on.
I was for sure going for the win now. And I feel like Tyler was going for the win later. And I feel like we all realized that.
Right. But going into this
definitely
year,
picking up rookies
What are you talking about?
in our draft.
I was all about winning now, all the time. Winning now,
Yo,
winning in the future. All I do is
yo,
win.
I feel like you drafted like 10 rookies, or at least like half your roster was rookies.
It's true. It's true. They were
But
young.
I was literally going for the win now because my thought process was like, if I win this year and I make my money's worth, then the next 2 years is already paid for. So
There
I
you
might
go.
as well win this year, which I should have won, and then my next 2 years are free. And if I win, you know what? That's extra money for me. Even though it doesn't come to money, but the pride of having the first dynasty league, the first winner on that trophy, kind of
Absolutely.
it kind of means something, you
Mm,
know.
I can agree.
But at least I wasn't the last one having that kind of trophy. So that
Or
means
take
something
Tyler.
too.
Take Tyler
That's for
being last
Johnny.
place.
That's for Johnny. Johnny got the
That's
real last place.
the downfall of picking all those rookies. But
Johan, no. So, what do you think your window of winning is? How long do you think you'll be competitive to win that trophy?
at least this year, maybe next
Okay.
year is going to be the final year. But I mean, I guess that'll be a question later if we're going to continue the dynasty and keep the same teams, or if we're going to just start a whole new dynasty and pick a whole new draft.
Oh,
But I
no,
mean,
no, no.
that'll be a
Dynasties
talk for
last
later.
forever, bro.
All right, then
Last
yeah,
forever.
then. So I mean that's time where I don't have to rebuild. I'll be like the Patriots, but I should have won. But
I'm
fuck
sure
it.
they thought the same thing. When you see
Yeah,
Belichick talk to Brady, he's pissed off.
yeah. So I mean, I think I have these next 2 years. I'll be a contender. I'll be in the playoffs.
So, Johan, why don't you trade away your first and second round picks and acquire more players that are relevant now rather than rookies? Is that why you're going for running backs, or like I feel like you can get more value out of a win now mentality rather than going for the youngins.
So I don't like trading.
Okay, fair enough. That
I
might
don't know.
lead
I
to
don't
your
know.
downfall, bro. That might lead to your downfall.
It's so hard for me to trade. I don't know. It's like it has to be a benefit in both, and just doing the research, and that's why I just I believe I said Tyler, we were talking about this earlier about like there's so much information online, and how do you not input your trade online and both come out of it, Like it's hard for me to trade. And it's hard for me to say, oh, maybe I might be taking a risk now, but for a benefit for the future, when I rather just see the benefit now.
Do you have any thoughts on, we've done a lot of trades. We in our last episode actually we broke down we've done 8 trades, we being the league. There's been 8 trades in the league over the last couple of months or so, and a lot of those are for draft picks, and a lot of those are repositioning for managers who think they're in that win now mode. So maybe they're getting veterans like Stephon Diggs or DeAndre Hopkins or a couple other picks there. Have you been kind of keeping up on some of those trades? Were there any of them where you thought someone did particularly well in a trade, or someone really screwed themselves over, or have you actually not been watching it as closely?
I haven't really been watching it closely. Just because I feel like all trades are, I mean, they're legal, like it's not like you're trading between a computer or something. So like both teams have to agree. So I feel like whatever trade goes through, that it is what it is. That's what they decided on doing. Even though I don't seem like one is fair for the other team, but it's like at the end of the day, they both agreed on the same trade. So, other than that, I really haven't been looking into it.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I should be looking more into draft picks and stuff like that, but I think I'm just going by what comes
Yeah,
to
I'm
my
not sure
way.
if you have Sleeper app up, but I did just send you a trade. If you're interested, see if we can get a live one going on the show. We could be the first to do it.
I'm not going to trade with you.
What?
That's what I
You
like
don't
to
want
hear.
the awesome David Johnson for your first round pick? Come on. Come
David
on.
Johnson for my first round on 2021. No,
Double digit games.
I'm
Double
declining
digit.
this. I'm telling you, dude, he's an old man, and you're going to get someone. I lay just decline that.
That hurts my feelings because he's 3 years younger than I am.
Yeah, but you're not in the NFL. As a running back, getting hit constantly for 6 months of the year.
Okay.
I'm surprised he's lasted this long.
Anthony, I'm sending you a trade. We can get the first trade going on live on a podcast. There you go. Just accept that, and We'll make it happen. Okay, Johan. Moving forward into this next year, you did say that you feel like your window could still potentially be over these next couple of years or so. Do any teams in the league stand out to you as the leagues or the teams at the top of the league, like your playoff challengers? And then were there any teams where you look at them and you're like, man, this team sucks? Curious to know your thoughts there.
Man, I would have to look into that. Wait, how do I look? Oh, here we go.
You can look into that a little bit, and we can circle back on that one. Just any other general thoughts about next season moving forward? Are you still in win now mode? Any types of players you're trying to trade for, or anything like that while you do that research?
I think I'll do that research in these coming up weeks, just because the draft is coming up. That makes a huge difference. But as far as like the winning stuff, like I don't know, everyone's pretty much set as far as their teams, and I would want to make trades with people on the lower half of our league, just because I feel like making it even, it's better for both parties, and it should be interesting. Like there's so many moving parts this year, and I feel like that was like that last year too. But this year, with all the quarterbacks getting hurt, and I think most teams don't have their quarterback, and that's such a huge part on the team. That this year is going to be interesting in that part for who gets picked up, and with even all the trades like Sam Darnold moving, down, and to what, like the Panthers, like how's McCarthy going to play out with that? Is he coming back? Saquon coming back? And just so many moving parts that coming up for this year. That's I probably want to be able to make a prediction on that until probably throughout preseason.
Okay.
And seeing how like the team actually gets along or who picks up who.
Yeah,
next week.
I'm really curious. Being in Georgia, I'm not exactly sure where. Are you close to Atlanta at all, or where at?
Yeah, about an hour.
Okay.
Hour away.
Atlanta in the NFL draft, they have the fourth pick, and there's lots of buzz around. Do they keep that pick? Do they get a quarterback to replace Matt Ryan? Do they go with one of the position players like Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase or something like that, or do they trade it to one of the teams that need the QB? Have you been hearing any buzz around the Georgia area about the Falcons and what they might be doing? Because they're really the most interesting team in the draft right now.
So interesting. It's like I've talked to plenty of the fans here, and they don't really know much what's going on. What they're saying is like they all want them to trade it because Matt Ryan's still on a huge contract, and they still have to pay him millions. So you might as well play it out for better picks for the next year, the year following. Because this year is kind of like you got to pay so much money. So why you have a fourth pick, and who you think you're gonna win with a star player? Like not a QB. Like, no, so it's like you might as well trade it for better draft picks the following year or the year after. And that's what the fans here have been saying and been wanting. So I think Falcons should trade it away because they're still paying Matt Ryan a shit ton of money. They're still paying Julio Jones a shit ton of money.
Like, I think Matt Ryan has a 2-year contract. If I remember.
Yeah, like their salary cap's not great. So you might as well trade for draft picks for the next year and then try to get something this year. Because they're on the end of their run, and like Matt Ryan, great quarterback, put up great stats, but I don't think he has that clutch gene. But as far as fantasy, he is a great fantasy QB because he puts up so many stats.
All right, Anthony, you got any other final questions or thoughts to send Johann's way?
Johann, what is it going to take to open you up into trading? That's all I need.
If it benefits both sides. I usually only do trades based on like if I need a running back and the other team needs a receiver, or if I need a receiver and the other team needs a running back. I'm like, all right, that makes sense because we both need what we both need. But the trades that don't make sense is like the ones that makes everyone just like, wait, what? Like, what were you even thinking in this trade? Like, I mean, I'm not going to say no to them.
I mean, you're always taking a risk, right? Because I mean, those trades happen, but at the same time, football happens, right? Injuries happen. Like I remember Tyler in another league traded away, got Michael Thomas and gave away Justin Jefferson. And at the time, I was like, "What the hell? He just gave away a rookie and got like the number 1 wide receiver going into this year." So at the time, it's super unfair. But it turns out Tyler lost everything in that trade.
And it
got
might turn out
screwed.
that maybe the other team that everyone was thinking crazy about saw something in this kid or saw something in them that like, yo, I know he's going to be a star next year, and maybe it'll turn out that way. But
Anthony,
Yeah.
that league that you're talking about, I managed to make like 3 or 4 trades where I lost all 3 or 4 of them, like guaranteed, objectively, absolutely. I traded away or I traded away Aaron Rodgers for Lamar Jackson, thinking that was going to work out. Aaron Rodgers wins MVP. Trade Justin Jefferson for Michael Thomas. Justin Jefferson just straight up outscored Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas sucked. I think there was another example as well, but man, had all those
So trade with
missteps.
Tyler. Trade
So
with trade,
you
trade those
never
kind of
know.
picks.
You never know what's going to happen. That's
you
why
never
you
know.
don't veto trades. That's why you see them
Yes.
through.
Right.
They have to be especially outrageously egregious to do something like a veto or whatever. But I don't know. That's my approach.
Yeah, that's like I don't. All trades are fine with me. Like unless it's this insane. Like,
Yeah.
but
All right,
Unless
boys.
someone's quitting the league and just selling all their
feel
assets.
like no one in our league is trying to like skim the system, or trying to be like cheat the system. Be like, yo, if we just make a super team, then
Right.
we'll split the. Like, I don't think anyone's doing that. Like,
No, I don't think anyone's doing that.
yeah, like
Everyone in the league has a certain amount of honor, and we're not playing for enough money where it to be even worth that. Not,
yeah,
it's all for competition's sake, and it's all for fun.
it is very. But I'm excited for this year because I don't know. I feel like Brandon's team. Now coming back to that question you asked earlier, I feel like Brandon's team was doing pretty well, and I think he was like the number 2 the whole season for some reason, and then he just ended up.
You've missed the trades though. He's sold away all his assets. So
He sold away a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
them trades could kill you.
them trades.
Just have faith in your team from the beginning.
Oh, Brandon's of the opposite mindset. I think he put that on his podcast that he's like, not feeling good about this 1 week, so he wants to get rid of certain players.
Oh man, I just like you just have to go with your gut, And once you start denying your team, you're like, I don't know, they start doing bad for you. It's that fantasy karma.
All right, boys. Well, we're gonna wrap this one up. I want to thank you, Johann, for joining us and doing this deep dive on your team,
Yeah.
and thank you, Anthony, for joining us as well. And congrats again to both of you guys for finishing first and second in the first league. We'll be looking forward to seeing if you guys can repeat in similar fashion next year.
Oh, we'll be there. We'll be there.
1 and 2. Let's go.
All right, guys. Thanks. We'll catch up with you later. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.